What is your view on the government's housing development strategy for the southeast of England? And what would you do to protect the interests of the residents of Leighton Linslade?
Right, well this is a huge issue as far as the town is concerned, and something I've been pretty vocal on really for the last 7 or 8 years, or so, certainly going back to when John Prescott first introduced this plan. Basically, I feel very strongly that we are being bossed around by the government in a really wholly unacceptable way, in that we are being ordered from Whitehall to build 43,000 extra houses in this part of central Bedfordshire, what was the old South Beds area. And there are roughly 44,000 houses in my constituency at the moment, the constituency of South West Bedfordshire. So we're almost being asked to double the number of houses in this area, and I frankly think that is much too high a figure. I've always been committed to meeting the housing need that we do have within this area, because I want people's children to be able to buy houses locally, and I'm very much aware that we need a decent supply of affordable housing for this area. My party's plans are to return control of housing back to local councils, so that they are in the driving seat in terms of how many houses we need to build and where they should go. And that's been taken away from our locally elected councillors, who are accountable to us, who live in the area. And I don't think that's right. And just as some people feel incredibly strongly that powers have been taken away from this country to Europe, I think you can make an analogy and say that powers that should rightly rest with our local council have been taken out of the local council's hands and taken to remote regional bodies or to Whitehall. I don't think that's right. I mean, I think the only issue on which 800 people have got together and marched through this town is on the issue of housing growth. So when that number of people get together and actually give up time on a Saturday to go and protest, I certainly, as a local representative, very much sit up and take notice.
I am married and have 2 children. They are now in full-time education, and I am looking to return to work. Rather than just get another job, I want to build a career and have also wanted to be a midwife. However, I have been told by my local colleges that as I am not on any benefits, I have to foot the bill for the training. This costs around £1,400 and is not something I can afford. Surely when there is apparently a shortage of midwives, we should be doing everything possible to help with training.
Well, I have great sympathy for that lady, and she's absolutely right that we do need more midwives, and I know the Luton Dunstable Hospital, one of our local hospitals, has a big recruitment drive on for midwives at the moment. I think they're even going up to Scotland to try and get midwives to come down to our area. So if there's a local woman who wants to train to be a midwife, we should be doing everything to encourage her, so she is able to be a midwife in one of our local hospitals. The training issue, again, I do have sympathy for her. Obviously budgets are very tight across government at the moment, and whoever wins this general election is going to have to make cuts in spending. So I think I would be dishonest if I was to say I could promise more money to pay for training which is not currently being provided. However, I would have thought it should be possible perhaps to try to get a loan to fund that training, perhaps from the Midwifery Council. I would like to be in contact with them to see if that's something that they might be able to provide, because obviously once someone is qualified as a midwife, they then have that income coming in, which might be able to pay back the cost of that training. So I think we certainly should explore every option to help people get that training, and I very much commend her for wanting to increase their skills and get back to work. That's an excellent thing for her to be doing.
The A5M1 road is needed as soon as possible. What is your view on it and the delays it faces?
Well, I'm very glad we've got a question on the A5M1 link, sometimes known as the Dunstable Northern Bypass. And the point I always make to everyone in South West Bedfordshire, this is a really key road, particularly for Leighton Buzzard, which has lost quite a lot of its businesses in recent years, very sadly countrywide, the last employer to move out of the town. If we get the A5M1 link built, it will provide fast, direct access to the national motorway network for Leighton Buzzard residents and Leighton Buzzard businesses. and I think will be a tremendous plus in terms of marketing the town and attracting new employers and new businesses here and keeping our existing businesses and helping them to expand. So this is a road, you know, I've been pushing for years and years and years. It seems to me that almost every other part of Bedfordshire and every other part of the country has had the bypasses that they need, but we've missed out on this very key road as far as we are concerned. So it's been my job to campaign for that. I've done that as vigorously as I can over the last 8 years, and if I'm re-elected I certainly will keep on campaigning to get this road built as soon as possible.
Central Beds are possibly going to cut the buzzer buses in Leighton Buzzard. These buses provide a lifeline to its users. I understand that all county council services are under financial strain, but cutting services like this is just wrong.
Yes, well, I'm very pleased to say I've actually just got back from a meeting with Central Bedfordshire Council where I raised the issue of the buzzer buses, because I am very well aware of how incredibly important they are to very many people in the town, particularly some older people, people who don't have cars and really rely on this service. Central Bedfordshire Council have assured me that they will continue to provide a financial subsidy for the buzzer buses. I think it is going to be looked at in an overall review of all public transport provided within Central Bedfordshire Council. I think that's a fair thing to do, because I learnt today that, for instance, some bus services, the subsidy is as much as £12 per person for an individual journey. Well, in some cases it would actually be cheaper and give people a better service to actually provide them a taxi, rather than to fund a bus service which isn't being used. But having said that, I'm aware that the bus services are not as good as they could be in this town, and I'm very well aware that the bus is relied on by a great many people. But I have been reassured that the subsidy will continue, and the Central Bedfordshire Council does recognise what an important service this is.
Do you think the MP for this area should have a second home in London, paid for by the taxpayer, or should they commute to work like the huge majority of people who live in Leighton and have jobs in London?
Okay. Well, I think this issue touches on the whole broader issue of MPs' expenses, and the first thing I'd like to say, as I say every time I'm talking this subject, is to apologise to everyone for what's happened in the last Parliament. It really has been unacceptable. I think it shamed everyone within Parliament, and we just have to say a very big sorry, loud and clear, and make sure we have mechanisms in place to clear it up in future. I personally have been completely cleared by 2 independent inquiries, and I've also said that I'm not going to charge anything for staying in London if I'm re-elected, and indeed I don't charge anything at all. I would just point out, however, that an MP's hours are very different from the vast majority of people, or frankly almost just about anyone who commutes to Leighton Buzzard, from Leighton Buzzard to London. Before I was elected, I lived in South Bedfordshire and I commuted to London. I didn't need to spend nights in London. Yes, occasionally I was caught late and I would just come back late and do without sleep, or very occasionally I might be put up in a hotel or something like that. The job of an MP means that you are regularly, at least 2 nights a week, sometimes longer, stuck in the House of Commons to 11:30 to 10:30 to 11:15 at night. And the volume of work is such that you can't come in halfway through the next morning. You need to be back in probably by 8 o'clock or so the next morning. And I don't think there are probably many jobs where you have to live in South Bedfordshire, work in central London, be working to 10:30, 11:15 at night, have to then come back to South Bedfordshire and have to be back in by 8 o'clock or so the next morning. And frankly, if there is anyone in that situation, could they please let me know, because their employer is probably breaking the European Union Working Time Directive. So frankly, I don't think candidates should be standing on the basis of who's going to be the most tired and exhausted at the end of a parliamentary week. We want MPs, we don't want special treatment for them. We expect them to work long hours, but I think it is reasonable to expect them to have enough sleep. So whilst I personally won't be charging the taxpayer a penny for staying in London, I will continue, if I'm re-elected, to spend those nights in London, when I can't get out of the House of Commons till 11:15 or so at night, because frankly I need the sleep to function properly the next day.